Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump and Keir Starmer jointly briefed the media after their formal talks. The UK PM terms the tech investment deal struck during the state visit with US firms historic. Protesters rally against austerity across France. Unions angry with planned budget cuts. Macron's government under pressure to fix ailing public finances. India and the United Arab Emirates review their comprehensive economic partnership agreement in Abu Dhabi, also exploring ties in space and maritime sectors. Nvidia bets big on Intel with $5 billion at stake in chip partnership. Shares of both the chip giants surge in pre-market trading. And Disney's ABC takes Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show off air indefinitely over his recent comments about Charlie Kirk's suspected killer. Trump congratulates the broadcaster about the move. But the US Federal Reserve, goaded by the risk of rising unemployment, reduced interest rates on Wednesday for the first time since December and indicated more cuts would follow to halt any slide in the labour market already experiencing higher joblessness, a declining work week and other signs of weakness. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, speaking in the press conference after the US Central Bank lowered its benchmark interest rate by 0.25 percentage point to the 4 to 4.25% range, indicated more cuts would follow at meetings in October and December, and said the softening job market was now top of the mind for him and his fellow policymakers. Powell's comments cap a steady shift in tone that began over the summer as Fed officials concluded that the higher import tariffs imposed by the Trump administration would not lead to persistent inflation, with faster price increases expected through the end of the year. But price pressure is also expected to fade after that time, even as monetary policy becomes looser. Nvidia and Intel have announced a blockbuster deal on Thursday to co-develop PC and data center chips. Simultaneously, Nvidia said it would take a $5 billion stake in Intel. The pact poses a potential risk to Taiwan's TSMC, which currently manufactures Nvidia's flagship processors, business that the world's most valued company could one day extend to Intel. Nvidia shares rose 2.2% in pre-market trading. Intel soared 32%, while US-listed shares of TSMC slid 2%. If Intel shares open at that level, it would be the highest in over a year. Nvidia, whose must-have chips are powering a global artificial intelligence boom, said in a statement it will pay $23.28 per share for Intel's common stock. Nvidia will become one of Intel's largest shareholders, likely owning 4% or more of the company after new shares are issued to complete the deal. London stocks advanced on Thursday in line with a broader move across Europe after the US Fed Reserve cut interest rates for the first time this year, with focus now on the Bank of England's rate verdict later in the day. The blue chip FTSE 100 gained 0.4% by 9:15 GMT, with gains in business information group RedXRel and aircraft engine maker Rolls-Royce among the top boosts. UK's mid-cap index also climbed 0.3%. Bourses across Europe advanced after the Fed reduced interest rates. The European Union is discussing ways to use frozen Russian assets to underpin a so-called reparation loan to Ukraine to bolster its wartime finances and bypass the risk of a veto by Moscow-friendly Hungary. Ukraine would only pay back the reparation loan once it receives compensation from Russia for damage inflicted during the conflict. The concept was floated by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen last week, at a time President Donald Trump is curbing direct US-funded military aid to Kyiv. Von der Leyen said the loan could be arranged on the basis of cash balances associated with Russian central bank assets frozen in the West after Moscow's operation of Ukraine, and would not involve seizing assets, a red line for some in the EU. Any such loan will need to be designed in a way that avoids a veto by Hungary, the most pro-Moscow of all the EU's 27 member states, and whose purchases of Russian oil have this week been a source of irritation for the Trump administration. Ukraine's Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal and the Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz have agreed to create a joint operational group on unmanned aircraft systems, which will include representatives of the Ukrainian and Polish armed forces. Both the ministers announced this during a press conference in Kyiv.
Today we agreed on a number of important steps. The first is the creation of a joint operational group on unmanned aircraft systems, which will include representatives of the Ukrainian and Polish armed forces. We will integrate the latest defense technologies and initiate new projects that should strengthen the protection of our people and our critical infrastructure.
And earlier, the ministers paid tribute to fallen Ukrainian soldiers in the conflict. A senior Russian officer toured positions held by his troops in Ukraine and said Moscow's forces were advancing on all fronts, with the heaviest fighting taking place around the logistics center of Pokrovsk. General Valery Gerasimov, Russia's chief of staff of the armed forces in what Moscow calls its special military operation, said Moscow's troops were making progress in the eastern Donetsk region, the conflict's focal point, and further west in the Zaporizhia and the Dnipropetrovsk regions in their slow advance through eastern Ukraine. Russian forces have maintained heavy attacks on the areas around Pokrovsk and the Donetsk region for months.
Our troops in the Special Military Operations Zone are advancing in practically all directions, and the most intense fighting has unfolded in the Krasnoarmysk direction, where the enemy is trying to halt our advance and seize the initiative by any means necessary, regardless of the losses. To achieve this, the Ukrainian Armed Forces Command has redeployed its best trained and most capable fighting units to the Krasnoarmysk area, to the detriment of other directions where our offensive is underway.
And the Kremlin on Thursday confirmed that Dmitry Kozak, the deputy head of Russia's presidential administration, has resigned from his post. Kozak is a longtime aide to President Vladimir Putin and a key figure in managing the Kremlin's policies on Ukraine. Kozak had sent a resignation letter and was considering various options to go into business. French protesters staging a day of nationwide disruption today in a show of anger over President Emmanuel Macron's budget policies. Protesters took to the streets in cities like Marseille and Lille, rallying against austerity measures proposed by Macron's government. Thousands of demonstrators participated in mass protests, blocking schools and staging a nationwide general strike. In Marseille, protesters marched from the Old Port, chanting the anti-fascist anthem Bella Ciao and holding signs calling to tax the rich. The demonstrations come in response to Macron's draft €44 billion budget, which has sparked widespread anger, especially among unions and left-wing groups. Despite the appointment of Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu last week, unions remain dissatisfied with the proposed cost-saving measures, including cuts to public holidays and pension reforms. Clashes between protesters and police were reported, and dozens of arrests were made. US President Donald Trump and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a bilateral meeting at the Chequers country residence in Buckinghamshire on Thursday. Still images showed the two leaders sitting down and walking through a library room during the second day of Donald Trump's state visit to Britain. After talks, both the leaders held a joint press briefing as well. Prime Minister Starmer said the UK and the US are leading sectors such as tech, finance, defence and energy, and the deals that have been struck in this visit will have billions flowing both ways of the Atlantic.
So this relationship is embodied in each and every one of you here today. We have, if you like, the great and the good of British and American business sitting with us. Leading lights in tech like Jensen, Ruth, Demis and Satya. Finance, Jane, Larry and Steve. And of course in pharma, in defence, energy and manufacturing. It is really great to see you all again, I should say, because of course we were together yesterday and we know each other very, very well, which is exactly as it should be. And just look at what we're achieving today together. The deals and investment that you're announcing today break all records. What a day. £250 billion flowing both ways across the Atlantic. It is the biggest investment package of its kind in British history by a country mile. So thank you so much.
Earlier, Donald Trump waved to the media after his Marine One helicopter landed at the estate near London before boarding a black SUV with US and UK flags for a short ride to the main building at Chequers. And there he was welcomed by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his wife Victoria Starmer at the doorstep. But these are images of course, Prince Charles and Donald Trump. These images at the start of his state visit were plastered all over, all the broadsheets world over, because it was quite a royal reception that Donald Trump got on the first day of his state visit to the US by the British royal family. These are images from Windsor Castle, which is, well, in a manner of speaking, the country retreat for the British king, the monarch. Now, the British government has announced a record-breaking $204.87 billion package of US investments into the UK during Donald Trump's state visit. The UK government said US companies had pledged a record-breaking sum as part of Donald Trump's state visit. The figure, which Britain said was the largest commercial investment package generated by any state visit, was announced ahead of Trump's meeting with Prime Minister Starmer. Ministers claim the package will create more than 7,600 high-quality jobs, revitalize communities and accelerate growth in sectors of the future. The total includes a previously reported £100 billion long-term investment pledge from private equity firm Blackstone and £3.9 billion from Prologis in life sciences and advanced manufacturing. The visit also saw Queen Camilla and the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, teaming up for a rare joint outing on the final day of US President's state visit to the UK. The 77-year-old Queen and the First Lady of the US stepped out together to tour the Royal Library. And the two ladies also went to Queen Mary's Dolls' house at Windsor Castle and spent some time together there. Let's now listen to what Donald Trump had to say after, of course, Keir Starmer was besides himself in terms of the kind of investments that the US has taken to decided to make in the UK as part of the state visit. Listen to Donald Trump.
Our two countries do a great deal of business together. $340 billion last year was the number. In May, the United Kingdom became the first country to make a trade deal with the United States during my second term, and we sort of wanted to make it the first because the bond is so strong and the relationship so long. That agreement will create billions of dollars in opportunities for American farmers to sell their products into the UK, reduce barriers to trade, and give the U.S. manufacturers better access to the UK's world class. There's no more natural partnership in the world. Together, we're building up the industrial capacity of both of our countries, which is crucial to our defense. And we work so well together in defense. I met so many of the leaders of your defending group, and many of them I've known by name, but now I know them pretty well. We had some very good meetings today and yesterday. So we're taking the next logical step with a historic agreement on science and technology partnerships, and this will create.
So there, a very, very landmark trip as far as both America and the UK is concerned, Donald Trump's second state visit to the United Kingdom. Now, Trump also celebrated Walt Disney-owned ABC's decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel Live off air on Wednesday after remarks by the show's late-night host about Charlie Kirk's assassination sparked harsh criticism by the head of the Federal Communications Commission. On Truth Social, Donald Trump said, "Congratulations to ABC. The decision comes as Republican President Trump has repeatedly pressurized broadcasters to stop airing content he's found objectionable and called on the FCC to pull licenses from stations." Though the decision has also drawn sharp criticism from politicians and TV hosts alike. A number of Democratic lawmakers assailed the decision, saying that free speech is under attack. Meanwhile, fans gathered outside the El Capitan Entertainment Center on Wednesday protesting against the ABC move. And still to come on DD India Live. A new AI-powered app, Saw Lee, is helping protect young smartphone users by flagging harmful content on platforms like TikTok, Instagram and YouTube without restricting access. It alerts both children and parents about harmful material, offering tips on how to deal with it. In Egypt, rising billboards have created chaos in capital city Cairo, which have doubled in the past 6 years. The city now has over 6,300 billboards and 300 flashing digital ads, distracting drivers and adding strain to commutes. This surge follows Egypt's investment in transport infrastructure. In the protected Kalankis National Park, where turquoise blue waters sparkles in the sun, extensive work has begun to clean up the southern coastline of Marseille. The park has been contaminated for 2 centuries by various industrial activities. These materials, known as slag and containing high levels of lead and arsenic, are residues from defunct factories. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Prime Minister Modi speaks over the phone with his newly appointed interim Nepalese counterpart Sushila Karki. And a national first for India and Assam with bamboo at its core on World Bamboo Day.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nepal's newly appointed Prime Minister Sushila Karki have held a telephonic conversation today. During the talks, Prime Minister Karki extended birthday wishes to Prime Minister Modi on the occasion of his 75th birthday, which was yesterday. She also recalled the centuries-old friendly relations between Nepal and India and briefed Prime Minister Modi on the latest political developments in the Himalayan nation. In response, Prime Minister Modi congratulated his Nepalese counterpart on her appointment to the post of Prime Minister and pledged the continued support of India to Nepal as a good neighbour in the days to come. Prime Minister Modi also conveyed heartfelt condolences on the recent tragic losses of lives in Nepal. During the conversation between the heads of government of the two close neighbours, matters relating to Nepal-India relations, issues of bilateral interest and mutual concerns were discussed. Prime Minister Modi also extended warm greetings to the people of Nepal on their National Day, which is on Friday, tomorrow, that is. Now, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal co-chaired the 13th meeting of the UAE-India High-Level Joint Task Force on Investments alongside Managing Director of Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Sheikh Hamad bin Zayed Al Nahyan, in Dubai on Thursday. The meeting reviewed the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, the Double Taxation Treaty and Central Bank Cooperation while exploring new investments in space, maritime domain and other high-potential sectors. Speaking to the media, Minister Goyal said defence and aerospace were the two new areas of investment which were discussed. He added that in just 3 years, India-UAE achieved the goal of $100 billion bilateral trade, which happened in 2024.
आज की चर्चा में डिफेंस और एरोस्पेस दो नए क्षेत्रों के ऊपर, साथ ही साथ स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजीज में उन्होंने बहुत रुचि दिखाई। आज आपको जान के खुशी होगी कि हमने जो लक्ष्य रखा था सीपा के समय, कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट के समय, कि हम द्विपक्षीय बायलैटरल ट्रेड $100 बिलियन पे लेके जाएंगे। पिछले साल $100 बिलियन बायलैटरल ट्रेड अचीव कर लिया मात्र 3 वर्षों में, और अब हमने आज एक नया लक्ष्य रखा है कि नॉन ऑयल नॉन प्रेशियस मेटल्स $100 बिलियन के ट्रेड के ऊपर दोनों टीम काम करेंगी। मेरे साथ एक बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस डेलीगेशन CII, फिक्की, एसोचैम तीनों संस्थाओं का, उनके CII और फिक्की के तो प्रेसिडेंट्स भी।
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman attended the annual symposium of the Indian Foundation for Quality Management in New Delhi on Thursday. Emphasizing on the need to bridge the human resource insufficiencies, the FM urged private sector players to partner with government to upskill youth, creating more direct employment opportunities in the country.
I hope there's no more hesitation for industry to invest further, to expand capacities, produce more in India. And what else is required by the government to do? Spell them out. The second, a point that I referred when I spoke, how to bridge the human resources insufficiencies. So I would want private sector participation together with government in readying youth to be fit for quick and direct employment. And the third one, which I've repeated several times, is the engagement with government should be ongoing. It should not be just before budget, come and say a list of things and disappear. Please keep it going on. We're all here to hear you, and we respond.
The minister further added that the path to Viksit Bharat or developed India is not just limited to infrastructure, but also includes seasoned interventions from the industry leaders on quality management in various sectors.
That our path towards Viksit Bharat is not just going to be based on some infrastructure that is getting built, a nominal improvement in the training of our human resource, but there is a seasoned look into what quality management is and at what levels and to which wings of our manufacturing or even for service sector, the interventions are required. And with the seasoned input from industry leaders, this intervention can be a very powerful catalyst towards greater and better production in India, improving the quality of services in India, and so on.
World Bamboo Day is being celebrated in Assam on this day. This celebration added significance this year as Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the nation's first bamboo-based 2G ethanol project in Numaligarh. Assam's bamboo-based ethanol project brings new hope for farmers. Local people have expressed optimism, noting that while bamboo prices were earlier low, the new demand will raise their earnings. Many plan to expand cultivation as well. Traders also believe the initiative will encourage youth to take up bamboo farming and related business, giving a push to Assam's rural economy. And in sports, India's ace athlete Neeraj Chopra failed to defend his javelin throw title at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo on Thursday. India's two-time Olympic medalist Chopra finished 8th in the standings. He was knocked out after 5 rounds with a best throw of 84.03 meters. Neeraj Chopra's remarkable streak of top 2 finishes in every competition since 2021 has so ended. However, his counterpart Sachin Yadav, or compatriot rather, finished 4th after posting his personal best of 86.27 meters. Meanwhile, Keyshawn Walcott clinched gold, Anderson Peters bagged silver, and Curtis Thompson signed off with the bronze. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code and download the app. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.